So I've given my anti-Russian story. So this is the story of my friend Cristina. I met her while I was working at a sports equipment uh, store. She was already working there when I worked there. We got hired as salespeople. We had a boss and an assistant manager. They were both like just hounds for sales and not willing to share, and would then as soon as someone was biting. I remember that about them. But the guy made a great profit because he marked up the stuff tremendously. I think I got like a few months in. I got past enough, the probation enough for me to get the employee discount, and I bought some sports equipment. I was personal training at the time, so I used it for that opportunity, but I was fired for not making the sales quota. Well, Christina was a Russian immigrant. I think she came here as a child. She still had like a slight accent. She was an only child. Her mother and her father moved here to like start a new life. I think they have a grandmother back home, and I remember telling me that her father and her were the only surviving line of the father's family because all of them were killed in the gulag and the system. So she was like the only surviving member of the family. We became close and developed a friendship and just were like chummy through work, and went to a Christmas party, saw how good she was at drinking. And she was one of those like really open people who would like tell you stories of her childhood, like being like 8 years old and being around adults and drinking coffee, and the other adults like frowning upon her. But she had like that only child vibe about her, where she was fiercely close to her parents, and because they only had her, they took her everywhere. So she told me she wanted to be a flight attendant, but her mom insisted that she go to university, and so she went to university, UFT, the Mississauga campus, and she got a degree in, I believe, English literature. Around that time, she was probably early to mid 20s, and was just working to make some money and kind of pay back student loans if she could. After I got fired and I was just doing my own thing, worked my other training job, and then eventually got my present job. But we kept in touch. During the summer, we actually hung out one time, and she came over to my house, and we were drinking in our backyard, in my mom's backyard, and just like taking it easy, having a good time, vibing as friends do. And from there, we had planned to go to the States, like on a road trip, like just like for a day shopping trip. Back then it was maybe, I'm thinking, maybe about 10 years ago. We're gonna go to the States to go shopping, cross-border shopping for the day, just to like check it out, do like cheesy touristy stuff. And then the day came close, and I emailed her, and I reached out to her on Facebook because everyone was like a Facebook head back then. And then I didn't hear from her, and then I didn't hear from her, and I like sent her messages like, I hope you're good, like, what's going on with you? Didn't hear back. And then eventually she reached out, and it was in like a rehab type situation. She had suffered traumatic brain injury, and the story is so long, but she was thrown from a 7-story building, broke every bone in her body except one, survived it, has all kinds of friggin' disabilities that come from that, broken body, broken everything, and had to just kind of go through rehabilitating her body and taking care of herself again. Found out one of her feet, because of the trauma and all the broken bones, like some of the bones in her feet had dissolved, and everything was like bionic woman, metal, everything in her. And like because of the injuries, everything was painful, movement, getting around, all that. How she was injured was mysterious circumstances, as in foul play. And when the father went to investigate it, he was intimidated. They eventually moved back to Russia, and as far as I know, they are still there now. They lived in some coastal town where it was temperate, so I think some place that shared the ocean with Turkey. I don't know if that's the Mediterranean, but like a part of Russia that's low enough to be somewhat moderate in temperature and good for her with all her disabilities. What she told me upon going back, that Russia was not made for disabled people and people to move around that were had limited mobility. That's what she remembers by going back home. She moved back, found an American boyfriend from Boston that helped her publish her story, and is her advocate and helps raise money for her and promote her writing so she can survive from there. Since the war broke out in Ukraine, I haven't heard from her. I think I reached out to her boyfriend via Facebook, and he told me she was okay. That was a few months ago. And since then, we're just watching and waiting and seeing how things turn out over there, and what life will be like for her, and even our friendship going forward, and if she'll ever get to come back to Canada. But yeah, that's as much as I want to say about my Russian connection.